oops, I didn't list it there yet. This year, we went ahead and tried it. I have 10 students in the modified language arts class. And what I had them do is, I modeled for them first an article out of the science magazine that the science guys get every once in a while, and so they had some extras. So I went through and we read it together. I used the document camera and we annotated and highlighted as a class, then went through and put those notes onto the Cornell note format, and then talked about the Scribe. We went through that, and so we did that all modeling together as a class, talking through it. Then I partnered them up with, they had different magazines to choose from. There were duplicate magazines, and so they had to find a partner to have the same magazine. They had to choose what article they thought was most interesting in that, and then they went through the steps with it. So this group of partners here chose Mining the Moon and Beyond. It's talking about minerals, which ties in right now, chapter 3, 7th grade science. So they chose this article and annotated and highlighted and discussed. And I'm also very fortunate that I have 2 paraeducators in there at that time too that can kind of help and go to some of those groups and spot check them. But we also talked about text features and how to look at the diagrams and pull it, not just skip the information that is there in the article. So once they did that and read through it, highlighted it, they looked through it again as they're now going to Cornell Notes. And this one, they actually chose to do it on their own paper. I had some that they could have chosen to use. Since they were doing different articles, I didn't have anything pre-filled out for them because I didn't know which direction they were going to go. And so this one chose to do like some of the vocabulary, and they wrote the definitions, and then took some actual notes, just listed them, some of the facts that they pulled out of that. And this article is actually 3 or 4 pages long, so they chose a really hard one. I was expecting them to choose little ones, and they didn't. But I thought it was also good that some over here in the queue, the questions, that just those things that get them to thinking beyond the article of where are they getting this money to go into space and to travel and to try to get these minerals off the moon and other asteroids in. And so that's like taking that as a sounding board of perhaps more research or something, for them to be able to take it to the next level, just thinking outside of the requirements that I'm asking them for. So once they take the notes, then they did the Scribe. They put those notes into the Scribe format. And again, I think some of them had a little bit of help from the paras trying to figure out for sure, their transitional words. I provided with them a list, not only of the sources that we have, with the different text structures and the words that you would look to see in the writing for that, but also I gave them another sheet of paper that they just keep in their file folder all the time, and they can kind of talk about, is it comparing, is it summarizing, or is it sequence, and it just gives them some clues of some words that they could use. So once they kind of figure out the direction they want their paragraph to go, they can choose the correct transitional words that will help it make sense. So I was in the Mining the Moon, sorry. And then they could actually put that together into a paragraph. But I thought that this was interesting that this student found the transitional words that he wanted to use, today, first, second, eventually. But then, when he was ironing out the details, he went through and he put it by the sentences that he wanted to use it in, so that when he was writing his rough draft and final copy, he kind of knew that it was going to make sense to him. And I think that, too, when I think back to having them do this, I guess I don't have a final copy in here. I'm sorry, I just have a rough draft. That's fine. I thought I had one that was typed. They typed it. When they actually did this before, I would get like maybe 3 sentences. I'd have them read something short and sweet, and can you just write a summary of it? And I wouldn't really get a lot. So I feel like that this process is really making them work with the text, highlight it, and then just using it, not just that one jumping straight to writing a summary, but these steps that they're having to take to get to that point is causing them to think about it more and pull more information from the text. So it is, I'm seeing more writing from my group. mining for minerals, we did one last year for Lewis and Clark. That was out of the 8th grade textbook, and look, he thinks it's fun. I know, he's having lots of fun, yes. And then just, again, the final copy. I mean, it's not great by any means. It's probably not something that would be in your class, but it's more than what it is. It's awesome. More than I have been getting before. So we did Lewis and Clark. We also did 7th, that was 8th grade. 7th grade, we did Canines to the Rescue. And it was just an article in the textbook again, and it allows us to talk through those text features and just pull that information. A lot of times on these, I will go ahead and photocopy them just so that they can work with, highlighting, working with that text. And sometimes they do it together. Sometimes, like the science ones, that was with partners. Sometimes it's individual, and sometimes we walk through them as a group still too. So, and then the final paragraph they came up. And you can tell that it's just, if I said the name of who did this, you guys would just be amazed, and you could hear him saying this. I know you could, but it's, yes, that was a good one. And we did, the second one I thought was very interesting. It was blue skin. This was out of the science article. I'm so sorry. I don't think that everything I thought scanned in here did. I'm really sorry about that. But again, we started with the Cornell notes, which I just put the sample up on the board and kind of told them what they should be putting where. And I wish that they would go more to, and I'll have to structure it more that way too, but they put a lot of words in there, and I wish they didn't write as much. But I think that that's kind of a security blanket for them, that they're getting information down. And then the summary. The guy got sick, he tried fixing it himself, and his skin turned permanently blue. But then, once again, they're like, oh my gosh, this was written in 2011. Do you think he's still alive? I don't know, go see. And he is. He's alive, and he's still blue. So it's just kind of interesting.